Hello, and everybody, and welcome to Arc of Fire Gaming Network's Behind the Roleplay, where we talk to fellow RPers about characters they currently have, about who they are as a person, and then maybe at the end, we'll work on a little bit of something they need to work on. So let's get right on into it with our guest extraordinaire, Mr. AwaBeats. Hey, Awa.
Hey, how's it going? My name is AwaBeats. You can call me Awa, and I am a musician and Twitch streamer. Let's just first get started with the musician part. I've been making music since about middle school. I make beats, instrumentals, and EDM tracks, primarily lo-fi beats. I fell in love with the creation of it as a child, listening to Daft Punk, finding out, like there's these two dudes on stage, just literally on a computer, just combining just tracks together and just collabing. And I was like, that's something I always found super interesting and just wanted
Yeah.
to get into myself. And from that point forward, I like found a way to be able to make beats online, slowly saved up a bunch of cash on my own, bought my own music software, and just started messing with it until I found out, later in life, this would be something that I love to do as a passion. Bought myself a DJ rig, started DJing for a while with that. And around the time I graduated from high school, I think literally like 2 weeks into it, I like confronted my parents and said, "Hey, um, I really don't want to like study computer science. I think I want to make music. I want to be a sound engineer." And I think I was lucky enough to have parents that were super supportive because they knew it was something I loved to do. And it was just something that was like, if you keep that passion and you keep, the way you like, we see you love making music, and if you can be this, passionate about it throughout college, we're with you 100% of the way. Because
Nice.
my mom does the same thing. She studied theater and broadcasting when she went to college. It's something she loves. She loves theater. She loves writing, and she still loves doing it to this day, and still likes to make plays and likes to make videos. And I think she saw that in me with music. And so from that point, she was like, and my dad were like, "Hey, keep that passion, keep that love for it, and we got you."
Wow, so it really is in the family.
Yeah. It really is.
Nice.
Yeah, so I think that's a little bit of why I got that issue. My dad, he used to like DJ for fun and whatnot, youth and whatnot, and used to collect records all the time. So I find myself doing that. I got a record player there in the background over there with a bunch of records in my own
Nice.
collection, and the whole entire radio stuff. My mom did radio when she was like in her early 20s, late 30s, and so I find myself somehow studying the same exact thing at the same time.
Nice. All right. So that's kind of
So
how you kind of branched into the RP world.
yeah, like just that little bit of acting and whatnot, I think a catalyst. I never was a big fan for stage acting. My mom would somehow wrote me into all her plays, and I was good at it, but I just never found it for like me. I did some acting in high school, did drama class because it was like, people knew I had a skill for it. In high school, I played, my biggest performance I did was me and my best friend. We played the Mad Hatter and the March Hare and Alice in Wonderland. And the cool thing I think about that, when with just being able to play a personality, was that that whole entire like main scene we did was completely unscripted.
Mm-hmm.
That we had like a few prompts where it's like, okay, Alice is gonna get mad, she's gonna flip the table and storm off because you're not helping her in her situation. But literally go from there and have fun with it. And so me and him, like, we just worked off each other. Literally every single thing was different. And I think even opening night was slightly different from the rehearsal night of the performance. And following that, it's just I started also doing like literature style RP. That was like a bit of like a secret passion of mine
Mm-hmm.
in high school and college. Wasn't really ashamed of it. Just no one ever took the time to ask, and
Right.
I had a lot of friends through it, so it's like no one asked, and I'm not ashamed. But like, so something like, oh yeah, I do writing RP, because
Oh.
I don't think no one would get it if nobody was into it.
Well, I don't know if you know
And
this, but we actually do literate role play on our Discord.
I've seen that, and
Yeah.
I'm a little curious and a little bit like, oh, I might dive back into it
Do it.
because I might have to shake off the rust a little bit because I haven't written in a while. I used to have great grammar. It's bad now, but uh, I might get back into it. I really love it, and I think that was the start of it. Writing RP.
Mhm.
It got me interested and just making these cool characters. I love doing that far more than acting because I think it was something that you know a director gives you a script, and I love the idea of I think with the March Hare and the Mad Hatter where I have like free reign within reason, of course, to do like whatever I want. Like to
Right.
make this story, say what I'd like, and this is what I think the character would do. This is what I feel the
Mhm.
character would do. Being able to actually be the character and not more so be the character, but this is what they think the character would do.
Mhm.
And so I started doing that for a long time. That was, I think, like writing RP was even, I think, before I got like during like freshman year of high school. I think was when I started getting interested in that. I found it like by accident, and I was like, "This is super fun. Like, I love this."
Yeah,
And
that's
that
something
went all yeah,
we
it's really
find all the
fine.
time.
People just they run into it. Like I think what was mine about? I think I was a big anime fan. Ever
Mm.
since like elementary school, and I think I started off with I think it was like a Naruto style one, like, and I think it was on some forums, and then I somehow managed to like deep dive wormhole, find myself there, and it slowly branched out into super just crazy, just like original content that people make,
Right.
and even from this day on, like a lot of my close friends are some of the people I made through those connections. Like to this day, like I have one of my friends. He's like a brother to me, and
Yeah.
me and him are still connected together and just doing all like sorts of stuff. We don't like write as much anymore, but like we're like friends. That's like best friends, like family now. And that's I think the crazy thing about it. Like although you were playing these characters, you really do get to find like really cool people that you can connect with.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
It's what I
mhm.
tell people is like we're the modern day bards of our time. I mean, specifically even more so you since you get into music design, but like
Oh yeah,
I think of a bard and I think a lot of people do is not just music, but storytelling. And
exactly.
that's what role playing is, whether it's literate role play and writing versus, game role play versus D&D. It's all kind of it's the modern day 21st century bard. And I think you being a music designer encompasses that more than most people, to be honest with you.
Exactly. Yeah. And speaking of bards, that's another avenue that I really loved was D&D. I got into that. Funny thing
Mhm.
is me, like my high school best friends I've made, like we've had it's almost like we're coming on the anniversary of our 1 year campaign that we've been running. And
Wow.
it's been a wild ride, dude. And I think that's the cool thing about it is like we all like say we are like all this different stuff. My like one of my friends, he's studying like chemical engineering. So he would be the definite like artificer of our party. But me being like the music guy, the RP or dude like who loves to just make crazy voices and just tell stories and is just wants to make friends with everyone. I'm the bard, of course. Like it's like, yeah, Awa, he's the bard. Yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
And for D&D, that started off. Gosh, when did that start off? I think that started my senior year of high school. We were having like what was like my school like they did all nighters. Like we had like it was a crazy like just it was I went to a STEM high school, so it was a bunch of nerds. It was all nerds.
Yeah.
Even the jocks were nerds, so it was a fair game. No one could bully anybody. If you liked D&D, you liked D&D. If you liked like wanted to be in a robotics club, you were in the robotics club and a track team. That was me. I was doing both at the same time. But
Nice.
um for D&D, we were having a school all-nighter. One of my super close friends, she was saying, "Hey, like it's like, oh, you ever played D&D before?" I was like, "No, but I've heard of it, but I wouldn't mind trying it." And she made this super cool and interesting campaign in the span of like one shot for like about 3 hours. And from that point on, I was just super curious and see, this is super cool. I want to get into this more. And so from that point on, it was just a bug. Started playing it a whole bunch and find myself, being. I think one of the cool things is I got to play a cool D&D campaign with Encounter Roleplay, which is now I think called Weave the Tale. This summer,
Hmm.
I got to play with them, and that was a really cool experience. I played a character named Ricky, And this D&D concept was an original concept made by I think the Wong brothers, I think their name was. This one was it's like hip hop based in the future dystopia, and I got to play an AI named Ricky, and
Nice.
that was super fun. It was really cool. Like I never got. It was an interesting way to play an AI that you're like not there really, but you're also there,
Right.
and so and it was like the very first time. It was a bit of like a production play test for them too. So they were in the Twitch chat, always like saying like, "Wow, that's a really cool play to do it out." It's like I never thought our character could be done in this capacity, and so that was really cool to be able to do some sort of stuff like that. But all in between just D&D and was it acting and writing came role playing games. And I found that out by accident through Twitch. I wouldn't even call it an accident. I think it was fate. It was bound to happen.
Right.
And I saw it online. I was like, this is interesting. And so I started watching it. I became much more of a viewer than a player for a while.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, because at the time I was making music, I didn't have a good team right. I had a really whack laptop that could only run my music program. And so I saved my own money, bought a good computer, which it was only able to run like the game and my music stuff, and that was just about it.
Yeah.
But it worked. I was one of the guys that if we play in there like the GTA, you couldn't drive, but you could do everything else because you would phase in out of like, a reality. And
You were pedestrian.
I was pedestrian for a long time until I got a good computer. But it was interesting. I got to play. I really got to live out more physically, although it was like virtually,
Yeah.
the aspects of me doing what I want in writing without being told. But then now I can actually see my character. I can create my characters. Like a lot of these games, we're a bit, um, like barred in some of those aspects. But luckily, with modern day technology, with GTA and Red M, you can actually really make almost literally any character you want, any way they look like. So
Yeah.
I think that's the greatest thing about it was I got to really make a character that I envisioned and saw and got to create. And
Yeah. The character
from that point
creation of
on,
these games. Whew.
oh, it's great. And I think that's the greatest thing is I think Red M is the most modern one of like the Rockstar's games. So they really did push the power of what you can make. And I can't say probably how many hours I spend in character creation, making all my characters like I think they would look like this, no, they would look like this. Got to change this. Even after they're made, me, for the first while, like going back to wherever I can to remake it, or sometimes just scrapping it completely and remaking the character again. It's like no, they got to look like this. This is
Yeah.
how they envision it.
Yeah. Absolutely, because I know I've done that before when I was creating some of my characters. I would just use the voice and be like, "No, he wouldn't have that mustache. Nope, nope."
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly,
Right.
exactly. But yeah, and I think ever since summer of last year, I've been on Wild RP, and I love it there. It's like one of my favorite. It's one of the best in my opinion communities, like RP communities that I've ever been a part of, and I'm so thankful I could be a part of these, like just the story and everything that's going on.
Yeah, Wild RP definitely make sure that it's story based. Like everybody's
Oh
trying to
yeah,
build a story. I know some of us want to do certain things what we shouldn't do because we need to make sure everybody's building that story,
yeah.
and that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad
That's not a
thing at
bad thing.
all.
I think that's the greatest thing about it is that we have such a great community and developers where they they do have a mindset. We have to do these things. There's rules, and we have to keep the economy alive. But at the end of it all, it's always been the RP. A lot of people come in there and they worry, oh crap, a Henry repeater is like $200. I'm gonna get $200. But literally, some of us tell them, like sometimes in the chats, like literally, just talk to somebody. Somebody out there will probably just give you $200 just to make that connection, that RP,
Yeah,
to do something. I've had that happen where I've met new people. I have given away guns because it's like I like this person's, first impression, and I want to see how far I can take it and where I can go. I think, and it's probably going to go into the voice and with everything like that. But like Mackenzie would be a great, like it was one of my greatest examples of meeting somebody as Nicosie and him not expecting to be given all just this stuff within
Yeah.
like first week. Like,
Yeah.
so I think that's the greatest thing about it.
No joke, I had a similar experience because my character is a cigar entrepreneur.
Yes.
And I no joke, I was circling around that idea and I wasn't sure if I wanted to role play that because I didn't know how. And I like the first week in Wild RP, a guy who plays the character Icarus Thatcher, who
Hmm.
is, I believe, a Native American, is his character.
Um, no, he's a. I don't think he's in America, but no, he's not in Native. I think he's like an old guy. I've met him, and I think me and the Native Americans all met him at one point, and I think the same day we all met him, like his first like few days, we all had tobacco on us, and he went
Yeah.
to make, an entrepreneur was like, I want to make Icarus cigars or something like that, and I think we all gave him a bunch of tobacco or something like that, and then I met him later on CeeLo, and he gave us the same cigars pretty much later
Yeah.
when I switched characters.
And that's what it was I met this guy and the first day he gave me a rifle.
Wow.
And I was like, and it was just a repeater, but it was like
Hmm.
for me, I'm going, I have no money. I just spent it on a horse. I've got no money.
Yeah.
He gave me a rifle. He walked me around different spots near Blackwater to shoot animals. Like, here, go here, do this. I follow this path and I make this amount of money. And I was like,
Hmm.
okay, I'll do that. And then they started talking to me, and I told him how I wanted to start a cigar business, and he goes, I think you should do that. I really think you should do that. And I went, you know what? I'm going to, and it's going to be called Icarus Cigar Company. And he goes, what?
Wow.
I'm like, there you go. That one dude being that kind started Nathan on his journey.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. I love that.
I know
Yeah,
it's you get
I
that
appreciate this
all the
community so
time.
much.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So that leads us into your first character that you've already mentioned, Nicosie, which we definitely want to talk about him because we're about to see something a little bit about him and hear his voice. And then you can just tell us about him, his history, what you think about him, why you like him, and why you made him. And so here is Nicosie.
Why, hello there. My name is Nicosie, native man, spirit of the bear.
All right, there he was. So tell us about him.
So Nicosie is probably one of my most like prized possessions when it comes to characters. He was originally like I made him on a whitelisted server, and he was a little bit much more different than what everyone knows him as like today. Um he had different hair, a little bit of a different voice actually too.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was able also to grow hair on his face, and he is just a very like um really just like selfless person. He
Mm-hmm.
always wants to help people and always wants to be there for others, but at the same time he is very reserved,
Yeah.
he hates confrontation and is almost a pacifist in some aspects. Like if it comes down to the point, if his life's in danger or someone's in danger, he will go to defend them. He hunts animals, so he understands that there's times where action is necessary, and then there's times where action is not needed,
Mm-hmm.
where it might be wanted, but it's not the sole aspect of what we should do.
Right.
He he grew up as a nomadic tribe, um, and due to like the way that WildRP is created, that we make sure that there's not a lot of conflict in our American and just world history, so that
Right.
everyone can have a fair game and play a comfortable setting. A lot of just everything just didn't exist that was bad. It's supposed to be a fun time and not be
Right.
uncomfortable for anybody's. And I think that was the issue with when I was on those public servers is a lot of them, tried doing that, and then some of them were just like, history exists, but we will, ban you if you like, say these kind of stuff to people, but history does exist. And in some ways, it was really difficult to just RP with others because it was just uncomfortable to play, a Native American, and there's some people playing, like cavalry or cowboys, and it's just this awkward conflict rather than a much more creative reason to conflict with each other.
Right. Right. And
Yeah.
they remove history, so you're like, well, there's no conflict here in the history, so what does it matter?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a cool thing, is and I agree with some people, history is very important, but in this aspect, removing the history, it makes you a better RPer if you can create a reason to make conflict rather than pulling from, okay, this happened in history, let's just use this, but making this kind of stuff, these rival gangs didn't like each other for this reason,
Right.
or this person betrayed me, or I'm searching for this person because they're wanted for some reason. And that's a really cool aspect that I really enjoy about this place. And with Nikosie's history, he was a nomadic tribe, and originally his tribe was based off the Trail of Tears. Like, I made it a blend of him being Seminole from Florida, and then him being Cherokee from the upper northern Americas. And in the middle, they lived usually in Ohio, and that Trail of Tears went from the south all the way up to pretty much about Ohio, and couldn't put that in the story, so I just changed it to he's a nomadic tribe, and they finally found a nice place to live in Ohio.
Yeah.
For years to come, that tribe lived there. They finally found a place where the tribe said, I think we'll finally stay, moving a bit during seasonal changes, but they finally found a good place to be. A settlement moved in nearby, made friends, and started just occasional trading, no harm, no foul, nothing going on. And eventually, by the point in which things started getting suspicious about that settlement that came in, they found out that the settlement was a bandit settlement. They were a
Hmm.
bunch of outlaws, kind of like the idea of Armadillo, where it's lawless, and they finally found a place where they could hide away and no one could bother them. And eventually, the bandits, excuse me, pushed them out of their area, and in a
Hmm.
raid attempt to broaden their capital, saying, why don't we just make it, instead of like a lawless city, like a lawless, county. And so they pushed the natives out of there, and that night Nicosie lost pretty much everything, in just the fray of it all. He doesn't know who lived, who survived, and he pretty much had to fight his way out. And this was and that one night kind of made a interesting plot for when I started him, was that when that happened, he was only about 15 and still hadn't gained his rights to be a warrior. He hadn't really become a man yet, so he couldn't fight in the battle to defend his people, to which saved his life in the end.
Right.
But he was tasked with getting everyone who couldn't fight, the elderly and the women, the children who were not able to get out and get as far as possible with the other people like him. And he doing so, they started flanking him off and started just one by one, they all getting lost. And eventually, he found himself just trying to escape. He'd later hear a scream, run towards it, and he'd find one of the other characters, Little Bear. If you met her, she's what's her name again? Oh gosh,
I don't think I've met her.
yes, it's goodness, the name is escaping me right now. Kate Madison. She plays Little Bear.
Oh, yeah, I know her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, she plays Taro, and that's her character. And Taro was pretty much they were called her Little Bear because Nikosie's name translates from Seminole to bear, and she literally that she named that name because she would always follow him around like a little sister. She was like a bear cub for him, and so that's the name she got. And she would always be around him, and he saw her. So of course he just went into action and just had to fight with the man and told her just to run, get out here as fast as you can. In the end, Nicosie killed the man, but he already had sustained enough damage himself in the process,
Right.
and excuse me, had blacked out and just pretty much just kept on just pushing himself further and further until he found out he's safe. He'd later awake in the homestead of just some kind of just a husband and a wife living just by themselves, like married couple,
Hmm.
a nice plot of land farm, and it was just them. And found himself there. They had nursed him back to health. And first, he wasn't very comfortable with being in this random house with random people, so very defensive. Ran off and hid inside the barn they had. In there, he found Namid, a wild horse that they had rescued, and it had not taken a liking to anyone, but it's for some reason just was okay with him. And I think it was I made it so that two people, just like a horse and a man, kind of same story. lost, hurt, and just scared, and
Right.
they kind of connected. And from that point on, eventually the two of them, you know, became like really just best friends. He could relate to the horse, you know, and that was his passion. And the family was finally able to, you know, almost like a son to him. He stayed with them for, I think, how long did I say? I think like 5 years. I think he stayed with them eventually because he had nowhere to go to. He didn't know what to do, and he had already like learned like English from the tribe. It was a nomadic tribe, so they had all kinds of dialects and whatnot going on there. And the what was it like? I think the whole entire thing that just made him eventually come to what was it? Saints Crossing was eventually just had a realization that, you know, he still felt lost just randomly one day, and he and that being lost and not knowing who, you know, what am I gonna do now? You know, I'm like pretty much a man now, and
Hmm.
I don't know where to go. And so in a fit of rage, he just, you know, and not mad at the people who are taking care of him, but more mad at himself for, you know, I don't have anyone, you know, for me. He almost decided, you know, hey, I'm gonna go back and find the tribe and just kill all the bandits that took everything from me. But then he had a conflict with, you know, what will that prove? You know, like they're not gonna like, you know, even if my people were alive or something like that, if anything, that just get me killed. One guy against 100 or thousands of armed outlaws.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in that, you know, he just started writing and aimlessly at that point and found himself in the crossing and just it was long and I the time it doesn't make any sense after I like started like making the character where it's like, you know, how like why did he travel for 5 years? Because Nicosie's about 25, he thinks. He doesn't know his exact age because of just conflicts of time and whatnot.
Yeah.
And for 5 years he traveled just from pretty much Ohio all the way to the Wild West, you know, finding places to
Wow.
go to and just sometimes even backtracking and then just turning around and coming back, you know, just saying, you know, screw it, just keep writing. And he finally found himself, and I think he found himself in Blackwater is where he found himself at.
Yeah.
And from that point on, he met a bunch of people like Jane, Johnny, Amelie, who is now like pretty much love of his life, and all the other natives. And he his biggest thing was, you know, of course, meeting with Wachuge was like, you know, I don't know who I am. And he didn't even feel comfortable being the bear, which was his bestowed spirit animal from his family,
Right.
being like, I didn't even feel like a bear. I couldn't defend, like, I could only defend one person. And now I'm just here, you know, hiding. And Wachuge getting to know him is like, no, that's not true at all. You know, in your need for not choosing violence and choosing love instead, you know, you've made far more sacrifices in defending others rather than taking lives.
Yeah.
And so now we have Nicosie as one of the people that almost like everyone goes to where it's like, hey, I don't know what the heck to do. I'm lost. Or even like Renee of all people being like, I'm gonna kill this man. I don't like him. Nicosie,
Hmm.
what do I do? And it's like at this point, for Nicosie first meeting him to now, it's like I can't stop him from wanting to
Right.
just
Yeah.
shoot someone. But I can at least clear his mind and figure out what's exactly going on with him in his life and
Yeah.
just try to make sense of it all and think, hey, at least if you're gonna do this, be smart, you know, be safe and don't let your emotions get you killed, you know. If you're doing this, then do what you have to.
Yeah.
So that's Nicosie.
Nice. That
Yeah.
sounds like that is your primary character because you got a lot of history with that one.
Yeah, he's a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
And I love him. He's so much fun to play.
Nice. Well, I don't think I've met him in Wild RP yet, but maybe one day.
I think you're like one of the few people that I communicate with a lot out of RP, but I have not met. I think
Yeah.
a lot of your characters in RP
Yeah.
is the interesting part.
We're just on two opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to time
Yeah.
frames and everything too. Okay. Well, that was Nicosie, everybody. You just got a full-on history lesson. That was beautiful. That story, that's novel worthy right there. That's,
Thank you.
dare I say, LRP worthy.
I do want to live.
I do have a Red Dead section in the LRP. I'm just saying. So we're going to move on to two characters of yours that are very similar to one another, and you're going to kind of explain the difference. First, we have Vic Smith and then CeeLo Brown. Vic Smith is your GTA character, and CeeLo Brown, which my character has met, is in Wild RP. So here are those two characters right now to kind of get a feel for what we're talking about.
This is Vic Smith. Him and CeeLo Brown voice is pretty similar. When I'm Vic Smith, it's a little bit more cool, calm, collected. But when I'm CeeLo Brown, it's a little bit more, cadence to it, baby. Like, I get a little funky with it. A little bit more forward. A little bit more drive.
And that was Vic and CeeLo. So tell us a little bit about them.
So Vic and CeeLo are about the same exact character, honestly. Vic is actually the longest character I've played, and currently I'm playing him a little bit different. He started off as a paramedic on my old RP servers that I was playing on, and from then I went to Wild RP and switched over to Nicosie.
Yeah.
But him and CeeLo are kind of two in the same character, or at least when it comes to doing voices. I at first was super uncreative when it came to doing voices, unlike with Nicosie, and I have a naturally deep voice, so I just said, why don't we just make it deeper, and decided to just go along with that trope.
You went sexy deep.
Oh, it's good. It's good. It's a great voice, and I've learned that. And I think that's the cool thing about CeeLo versus Vic. Vic he's a deep voice and is just a cool, just calm, collected dude, who just goes with the flow and just has have a good time. Loves lowriders and hip hop, while CeeLo is far more CeeLo is he loves funk is the joke about it. He is with not what you get with Derek, Gizmetti, and Bash. Is that it's just four brothers for family members that are pretty much supposed to be the 80s, but found themselves in Saints Crossing, really. And they kind of are supposed to be super smooth and, forward and whatnot, but tastefully doing so. With people, while Vic, on the other hand, on the opposite spectrum, he's he can be, and I find myself in the situation now because I'm playing him again on Twitch RP, where it's everyone's all oh my gosh, this dude's has a nice voice, and I think most people expect me to hit on him, but it's just nah, I'm just chilling here and just enjoying his time with people, and that's I think the funnest part of it is kind of just messing with people where it's oh my gosh, that's an amazing voice. It's oh yeah, thank you.
I was
While CeeLo on the other hand will approach people and whatnot. I think one of my favorite ones to do is anytime I see Sneaky Shadower on Abigail. Is I always if I see her, I drop everything, go to her, and just sweet talk her and say hello, how she's doing, just checking on her every single time. And it's funny because usually every time I do it, she's doing something important and it really flusters her because she's oh crap, there's a outlaw on the loose, but there's this guy trying to hit on me at the same time. Eventually, of course, I just leave her be. It's really funny. I DM'd her one day. It's hopefully I'm not bothering you. She's no, I love it. You're fine. So I always had a good time just going with that. And yeah, CeeLo and Vic, it's Vic's also just one of my favorite characters. He's what got me started. And I think he'll always have a good place in my heart. Although Nicosie's definitely taken up places. But CeeLo and Vic are very straightforward, I think, when it comes down to, and it's a little bit of a piece of me. It's although CeeLo is far more forward than I will ever be, he's extremely confident. When it comes to talking to people, I'm really shy. I think RP is an outlet I have to be able to um, be much more outgoing and confrontational and um, really communicative with people rather than me kind of having to warm myself up in the waters when meeting somebody.
Yeah,
I
that's
think it's
kind
the
of what you
funnest
get
part.
with wild RP or RP in general. I mean, all of us. I
Yeah.
think all of us are like that.
Mhm. Yeah, I think the biggest example I was Lumia. She plays Elizabeth Black. Um, she has the funniest moment because I ran up to her and I just, of course, CeeLo's flirting with her character, and I think I told her like, I think like it's like, dang girl, you are the tallest glass of sweet tea I've ever seen, and she did not. She loved it because she didn't expect, such a compliment, but was like not like offended, but was like, oh crap, like that was good, but it froze her up and she was just dying
What
when.
do you do with that now?
What do you do with that? What do you do with that? Same time, like word, she has to always say it to her, and she always cracks up. But like, I told her, she's like, it's like that was good. And I told her, it's like, I'm never that far with people. Like, I don't know how that came out. And
Yeah.
she was like surprised because she's like, you play CeeLo so well, for a guy who says he like has a hard time talking to girls.
Yeah.
But I think that's the coolest thing about it is, I get to just, really just expand that reach out there. I think
Yeah.
that's my favorite part. Playing those characters is Vic is far more who I am actually.
Mhm.
Like how my friends see me, very down to earth, really cool dude who just loves making music and whatnot, and just is the friendliest guy you'll meet, and it's just really chill. And then CeeLo is the guy in my head. It's like say this to them, and I just don't say it.
Nice. Yeah, that's kind of how it is sometimes with RP. I know my
True.
characters would not be as aggressive as me. I'm definitely not that way. Um,
Oh yeah.
so, well, that sounds good, man. I'm loving those two characters. Do you have any plans to expand that voice into any forms of other RP?
Um, no, not really. I think like all my characters and the like this dives into super later into the conversation, but like for the one I'm working on, it's like Nicosie mixed with a little bit of like kind of like CeeLo, but more noble ish in
Hmm.
the way the voice is done. And so I'm
Yeah,
still trying to figure out how to get that exactly. It's like Nicosie and at the same time like Morgan Freeman.
gotcha.
And it's really weird, and I have to figure out how the heck I have to do that.
Gotcha. Well, that leads us into the next character, yours, Master Crush Turtle.
Hey, Master Splinter, it's me, Crash. I hope you are doing well in whatever afterlife you are in right now.
Am I saying that right?
Yes.
Master Crush Turtle.
Um, Master Crush Master Crush the actually he's a long name. It's Master Crush of the Oogway, but he's a turtle.
Nice.
And
Okay.
it's that joke is his name is the biggest meme for the year-long campaign I've been playing with my friends.
Nice.
If you guys are getting it, he's Master Oogway from like Kung Fu Panda. He's a druid monk, but his name's Crush, like Crush from Finding Nemo. And Oogway is the name of the place he's from, but Oogway is the race that we call the turtles there, Oogwians, or all
Yeah.
the turtles that live in
Yeah.
that area. So for that campaign, the thing the best joke about it is every turtle is named after either like a ninja turtle, like Franklin, the TV show Turtle, or
Hmm.
some form of joke with what is it? Just like anything turtle like. And so that's the best part about it.
Yeah.
But what was it? He is kind of like Nicosie in a way. A
Right.
little bit different when it comes to just how I play him. Instead of him being more like a spirit guide, Master Crush is a teacher. He is the kind of like the governor of the village that he is. He's was bestowed that on him, and he is to teach his people, teach the school, as well as run the land along with the elders. And the biggest, strife for him was that in the story, there's a whole lot going on, and due to like the evil like demon king that was roaming the land, and in the past, his village was struck with a sickness and a plague for just generations.
Hmm.
And finally, Crush was just sick and tired of it and said, "You know what? I'm gonna find a cure. I know I am the leader of our people, but I'll bestow it to my pupil. He is the same chip of the block that I am, and I trust that he'll do it." And so that's how he met his party. He started studying, and then eventually ran into him, and has been stuck with him because they were on the same journey that he was on. That although like his focus was like, "Hey, I got to figure out how to get this sickness cured." They're like, "All right, there is the evil god, and this is part of it, and so happens that this evil god did this to all places in." That's how he connects with them and whatnot. So he's been sticking with the party. He cured his
Yeah.
sickness, and so far he's been sticking with him. And at least diving into like the idea of the voice, it's um it's based on one of my favorite things is T'Challa, the Black Panther, is the
Yeah.
idea for the voice that I did. And it's like, Wakanda is pretty much Uruguay, where like people can go there, but it's like if I was going around talking about Uruguay, only a few people in the whole like, country in the continent of Reptile would know what Uruguay is.
Right.
If they've been there, like the villages across the peninsula of, from them, we're like, oh yeah, we know what Uruguay is. People go there all the time, from our village. But if I was on the opposite side in like, the Spire, you say, "Oh, I'm from Uruguay." They're like, "Where? We never heard of this place."
Yeah.
It's like you're the first turtle we've ever seen. So I got to, kind of just be like the Black Panther in that aspect where, I'm doing cool karate stuff, but also a little bit of druid magic in there.
Nice.
And Crush is a good favorite of mine. He is real, just nice guy. He's like a chaotic good at times. Like he's always doing good stuff, but it's like hey, nature does what nature wants, and
Right.
deal with it.
Nice.
So that's a fun one.
Yeah. You said you've been playing them for a year now.
A year, so
Man.
I love him, but it's also the point where it's like, gosh, we need to make a new character.
Well, I mean, if you play what you love, I have
Oh yeah,
a few characters in Wild RP, but I just love playing Nathan. I am gonna have to
true.
make myself play my other characters because I just like playing the one I do.
Yeah, I like him. Like and it's. I think the craziest thing about our campaign is it's not even done yet. And we know it's not done yet because our DM, he's already made a campaign 2, and his brother has made campaign 3 for us.
Oh
And
gosh.
so, although it's a year in, we're like, I think 4 or 5 months from campaign 1 being over, campaign 2 starting. And I think the sad thing about it is, when and this goes into like the whole thing of like RP, it's like sometimes you just gotta have to perma a character. And it's just part of the
Yeah.
life that happens in it. People die, things die. And we just deal with it, and you have to part with that character. Maybe you get to live them again in some other aspect. And I think the one thing I look forward to making a new character and doing all this new just interactions with people and playing something different. But at the same time, it's like I'm gonna really miss playing Crush because I know in campaign 2 we've already decided that he dies about 20 years later, and campaign 2 takes place I think 100 like 300 years later or something like that.
Uh,
So at that point, Crush is no longer with us, and so it's like just being able to part with the character, and
yeah.
I think it's a very important part of RP.
I agree. I agree. It's I haven't had to face that yet myself when it comes to any of mine, but I am it is an aspect, and because you get attached.
Yeah, and it's just like I don't want to just have to stop. I love it, but eventually all things come to an end.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of that, as we're rounding the base here, we're going to move on to your Barack Obama and Morgan Freeman voices. And let's take a listen to that real quick.
I like to do President Barack Obama from time to time. It's a bit of a favorite to do when I'm trying to get people's attention and have a good time. Yes, and then there's the old Morgan Freeman, a much more simpler voice for narration purposes and good for setting a mood when serious matters come.
And there they are. Look at those voices. Jeez. Man, you got those down.
Thank you, thank you. Those two voices, those are actually the longest voices I have done. The Barack Obama impression came in middle school. I was surprisingly really good at it for some reason in middle school. And so I just went with it, and just, I would always, be a cool, like, party trick and whatnot,
Oh,
and
yeah.
just for fun giggles and whatnot. And I think, now that I think about it, I think the very first, I guess, part, you could say my voice acting career would be like, I don't know if you know about it, but, for a lot of people who are into gaming and whatnot and cool, voice acting gamers who play games and play voices while they're like playing games like, Call of Duty and whatnot, they would just do random voices, to mess with people in the lobby.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that one was those two were my very first two that I ever did. I would just mess with people, like do the Morgan Freeman voice while I'm playing games. They're like, is that Morgan Freeman? Or and like, oh god, Barack Obama's playing with us. And I changed my name to be like whatnot for a while just to mess with people. And that was really fun to do. It was kind of just jokes and whatnot. And I had some friends who did YouTube stuff. I don't know if they do it anymore. I think they got rid of their channel and are pursuing something else. But that was kind of what got me started just on. I think just having an interest in like voice acting was like, not only do people tell me like, hey, you should like, go into radio, go into broadcast. You have an amazing voice for it, And
Yeah.
I said, sure, like why not? I'll try it out, and then it began going into, like if I can do this, why don't I like try doing different voices to see, what can I do and make all these stuff. And so I started, my natural voice and certain cadences kind of actually is like Barack Obama. Like if I get excited sometimes, or like if I'm just in a mood, it goes like that. And a bunch more like I found out I can do the Morgan Freeman voice due to just like morning voice and being tired because it's like in that lower register. And that's how I found it out. And I was like, okay, the human voice is amazing. We can do different stuff with it. And so that's when I just started, messing around with it and saying, if I just tweak this and how I do it, I can do that, And that's just, I think, the start of it all, really.
So a career in National Geographic's coming soon.
I hope so. That's actually one of my like small dreams. It's like, if I can't do anything, I'll just work for National Geographic. Just talk about animals all day.
That's right. Well, good. I do the same thing. My favorite thing now is I'll play first-person shooters, and sometimes I may get a little too serious. So I go, you know what? Just start doing a voice. It completely takes my focus off the game. I have so much more fun. And I'll do Nathan, or I'll do an announcer voice. Oh, go to the left. You're doing very well. Stuff like that. Just to mess with people.
Just mess with them, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's great. Those are all the great voices you do right now. So the next question I have for you, is there a voice you're working on, something you're struggling with that you need somebody you can talk to help you kind of flesh it out a little bit, and tell me what kind of problems you're having with it?
Yeah, so a new one was I think my friend was talking about like Destiny and whatnot, the game, and they said your Nicosie voice sounds very similar to Zavala, the Titan Vanguard.
Mm-hmm.
And I listened to it and I was like, I can see how that works. I can see how it works. And I started messing with it for like a week, and I like kind of gave up on it, and I kind of do it again for a few days. And it's like for this month so far, I've been just trying to figure out, how can I do that? It's like I can see the Nicosie aspect, but Nicosie it's not him, but the way I talk, the cadence and the register is there, but there is a cadence to it and a tone that I just can't exactly find.
Okay. All right. Well, let's hear it. Let's hear what you got so far.
Yeah, so I'm gonna play it in the background, see if I can at least hear it on my side. Where if I try to figure out, it's like, so if I talk like this is Nicosie's voice,
Mm-hmm.
but Zavala is like, it's not higher, it's also low, but I just don't know exactly the sound I'm looking for. And I think that's the cool thing about having you here is like, what do you think when it comes down to what's that missing piece? So if I were to say like, hello Titan, my name is Zavala, Titan Vanguard. How can I help you defeat the darkness?
Try asking more questions because what I do is I tell people, a lot of people try to do a British accent and they always fail
Mhm.
at it because they sound like they're asking a question. They always, how are you doing? They always go, at the end of something, so they sound like they're asking a question. So what I mean by
Oh,
that with that one is do the same thing, but ask a question with an uplift on the end and see if that changes it for you.
oh, so like, hmm, like, how are you doing? How are you doing? So we want that uplift, is what you're saying, right?
Right, the uplift on the end, and then you have a tang right at the end of that voice. How are you doing?
Mm,
Try to cut it
doing,
short.
ing, ing.
You tend
Uh,
to do that with Nicosie voice. You
yeah.
exaggerate longer, which is fine. But for this one, try cutting it off because the Vanguard probably would be very precise with his language.
Oh, I see. I see. So instead of like, uh, my name is Zavala, Titan Vanguard. So it's like a robot. It's almost like robotic. Like, I want to just like
Hmm.
be very thorough. So Guardian, how are you going to defeat the light? Gather your strength and come forth with me. Although now I feel like I'm talking like Optimus Prime.
You're close. Like I heard that really well. The other only note that I was seeing from it was flatten it a little bit more.
Flat.
You're doing mid tones and low tones and try to bring that into balance a little bit.
Hmm.
So like if you got like Nathan right here and he's talking like this, and so what's Nathan's monotone? Nathan's monotone sounds kind of like this. It's not very up or down. It's just kind of right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like it stays though. It's because people think monotone's like, like, it's very low, but it's like you have a monotone where it's like just one straight, like nasal, like
Yeah.
like upper register, and it just stays there the whole time.
It
So
keeps the same twang, but it
play.
lowers the wavelength, so they're closer together. So it's still in the same
Yeah.
note range. So that's what I would encourage for that one. Would just to
Mm,
try
mm.
that.
All right. So hello there. My name is Zavala, Titan Vanguard. I am here to bring you on your journey to defeat the darkness.
Hmm.
Guardian, gather your strength. Right here, right here. Mm. I think I'm getting it. It's like, and that's probably because he's been working on it for a long run. But
Yeah.
now that I know that, I don't want to keep like, because now I have the Nicosie aspect, but more, noble and valiant is the word I'm looking for.
Would
Titan Vanguard.
Zavala pronounce valiant incredibly precisely? Valiant, whereas Nicosie would be valiant.
It's
You're
actually
talking
softer
word
too.
pronunciation.
Yeah, he's like, I'm listening to him on the side. It's like he whispers. He's almost like it's almost like telling you bedtime stories how he's doing it. So I like it's like he's valiant, but like it's like a strong silent type in a way where
Hmm.
it's like you're afraid of him, but you will like if you see him in battle, you will go to him for comfort. So like the Guardians came here. I think oh, there it is.
Oh, I heard that.
The
There's
Guar-
a little bit of British in there.
yes, it's slightly British, but it's like Nicosia British, which is a weird take.
Oh, now we're on to something. All right.
British Nicosia. Mm. The Guardians came here to defeat the light, each one by one being awakened from a ghost to take out all dark threats. Think, you see, we fight to
We fight to die, but our resurrection makes us stronger. I think I'm feeling it. I think I'm feeling it.
Okay. All right. All right. So turn that off what you're listening to, and now I want to see if you can have a conversation with Nathan.
All right, let's go for it.
So here's the setting. Battlefield, completely just wrecked. People everywhere. You seem to happen to see a few scavengers going through picking up stuff off of people, and you just happen to see this yellow-looking dude just kind of strutting his stuff. I'm not saying he's Western. I'm saying he has kind of that vibe, no matter sci-fi or Western. But he's got a revolver on his side, even if it's a sci-fi revolver like from Destiny. And he's just kind of gazing over the battlefield. He sees you standing there. Are you there? What the hell do you think you're doing? You gonna come help us with this?
Do you understand the circumstances that we are in right now?
I caused most of these circumstances, so sure I do.
I understand that, but gather your friends and your items, whatever you can scavenge, bring forth here, and we will create a battle plan. The enemy is only one short turnabout away.
Oh, there's
Are you
more of
ready?
this shit to do?
Yes, there is. You've only scared them off for the moment. They bask in the defeat of themselves. Each 1 minute than the next, they will come to you, stronger than the last. This is doomsday, my friend.
Well, all right then. Let me make my gun out and get it ready.
No, friend. Unless I believe that, you might be a crack shot with that, but here, take this. This will at least suffice more better than your simple hand cannon.
Well, you gonna give me a paper opener? What are you talking about here? Come on now.
No, this rifle, it'll last longer than the 6 bullets that'll last you.
All right, I'll take that. I always need a longer reach.
Very well, very well. Are you the leader of these people?
Well, I am now because most of the leaders are dead.
Very well then. What is your name?
Oh, they call me Nathan. Nathan Taranga.
Nathan Taranga. A name that'll be written in the history for years to come.
Well, if
My
I'm
name
still
is
alive.
Zavala. We can only hope that you will make it this far.
What was your name again?
Zavala.
Zadala. That's a fruit.
No, friend. Zavala with a V.
Oh, goodness. Well, you must be some kind of fighter wearing all that armor.
One might say so, but I'm a fighter for the people. And you are now a fighter for them as well.
All right. That sounded good, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think I'm getting it now.
Yeah. A little bit of British and Nicosie, and then like drop the lower and raise it up a tone.
All right. I think I could do that. Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird cadence, but I'm gonna have to keep working on it. I'm gonna have to come back to you later and see when I finally get it. I'll just show it off to you.
Awesome. That'd be great, man. That'd be absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, hey, man, I really appreciate you being on this Behind the Roleplay episode, man.
Oh yeah. I appreciate me having you. This has been a great experience, in a great avenue to just, for people to get to know who I am, who the characters are, the ideas and the personalities that go into them. So this is a wonderful podcast that we have here.
I appreciate that, man. Well, hey, thanks a lot, everybody, for watching. This has been Behind the Roleplay. I have been interviewing the amazing and always talented AwaBeats, and we will see you on the next exciting adventure of Behind the Roleplay on Arcafire Gaming Network. Bye.
See ya.